I'm going to address is what's going on at the border. And as I mentioned before, this is another topic that the press underreports. Earlier this week, one more time, we had the information come out on the number of people who are came across the border in August. Over 140,000. It varies from month to month between 140 and 180,000 people crossing the border, but that is just totally inappropriate. It makes a mockery of our immigration laws to people who are doing it right. We know that some of these people who, after all, had to break the law to come here are going to be disproportionately in a situation in which they have to take advantage of the public benefits of this country. And we don't know whether they have been adequately blended into America, think like Americans, think the self-reliance that Americans should have. And I don't think any serious country believes in open borders, except for we do here. In addition to the obvious problem with even letting adults here, we have, depending on the month, about 10,000 unaccompanied minors coming here to be dropped off, presumably at relatives, somebody or other. I don't know where the press is that's always worried about broken families when our open borders results in 9,000 or 10,000 people who at least claim to be minors without a parent around. The next problem, a humanitarian problem, when you have such a huge number of people crossing the border, people die coming over from the border. The last time I was down on the border, they found 2 bodies of people around San Diego in the Pacific Ocean. We were told it was more common to find bodies on the Mexican side of the border. We hear about people dehydrating to death in the Arizona desert. We hear about people drowning in the Rio Grande. But nevertheless, these things are not talked about. There have been an inevitable consequence of sending the message to people all around the globe that we don't care what happens at the border. Another problem is, depending on the person, they frequently are charged $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to come here. Who is benefiting by this? Every time I've been down at the border, the Border Patrol believes that the people at the border, that the drug cartels are right now making more money smuggling people across the border than they do selling drugs. So what is the effect of the drug cartels making more money? It gives them even more of a stranglehold on our southern neighbor, Mexico, which is quickly becoming more and more of a narco state. I think part of that is our fault in America for having too many people consume drugs that are snuck in across the southern border, but some of the fault also has to lie in this open door policy pursued by the Biden administration as the Mexican drug cartels get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Other thing to point out is we are not inappropriate otherwise as far as letting people in this country. Depending on the year, we have over 800,000 new people sworn in as American citizens. That's certainly very generous, particularly when compared to other countries. Meanwhile, we have a situation in which we are encouraging people to come here. Right now, 65% of the burst of illegal immigrants are people on Medicaid, which would indicate that it is a still greater burden on our budget to have more people come here. The American Medical Association points out the huge number of illegals who show up at emergency rooms. Of course, they, as a practical matter, aren't charged for this. It's something passed through to the other people who are paying for their medical care. But again, we have to say one of the reasons for the spiraling cost of medical care in this country is people who show up at the emergency rooms and don't pay. That would be illegals. I recently talked to someone who operates a free clinic in my district, and they told me that a significant number of the people who they deal with at the free clinic are people here illegally. This could become even greater if eventually President Biden gets his dream could very easily happen if the elections go away. I don't want to have it go, in which we give Pell Grants to people who come here illegally, which results in close to a free college education that the American middle class doesn't get, but apparently an inducement to have more people come here. We're going to give Pell Grants to people who come here illegally. I hope that the American Press Corps pays more attention to the numbers introduced earlier this week as far as the number of people who came here illegally. In August, it should be a banner headline. It will have a permanent change in America whenever over 150,000 people come here. And I should point out that as more people come here, it doesn't mean we are kicking out more people who break our laws. At the same time more people come here, we are deporting only about as quarter the number of people who President Trump was deporting for breaking crimes. So we're, in essence, allowing more people who are criminally prone to come into this country.